When we try to understand democracy in India, our minds usually go straight to Delhi, to the big debates, the sound and fury of parliament. But the real answers, the true pulse of our republic, it's not always found there. It's found in the soil. So today, we're shifting our gaze. We're going to listen to the democratic heartbeat of one single assembly constituency, Longkhim Chare in Nagaland. We're going to see how power is really earned and how it's lost right from the ground up.
See, in these hills, a political mandate is never a gift. It's more like a lease, a temporary trust that has to be earned over and over again. The people here, they have long memories. Their vote isn't just a casual choice. It's a very deliberate judgment. For them, politics isn't some distant game. It's a real ongoing conversation about their livelihoods, their dignity, and the future they want for their children.
So, before we even touch the numbers, we have to understand the ground they come from. To really get what the people's verdict means, we have to first try and understand the people themselves. It's like reading the soil before you plant a seed. This is the first rule of any serious analysis. Context is everything.
Now, just look at this number for a second. 94%. In so many places we talk about voter apathy, about people feeling disconnected, but here in Longkhim Chare, you see the exact opposite. Almost total participation. And that's not just a statistic, that's a statement. It tells you that this is a community that is deeply, personally invested in who governs them. Every single vote is a voice, and when they come together, they create a sound that no one can afford to ignore.
So, what does this community look like? Well, it's a constituency reserved for scheduled tribes, with its social fabric woven from the Sangtam, Konyak, and Chang communities. There's a high literacy rate, which means you're dealing with a very informed electorate. But right alongside that strength, there's a serious challenge. A sluggish local economy that just isn't creating enough jobs, especially for the young. It's these two things together, an educated population and a lack of opportunity, that really drive their political choices.
So how does a community disengaged actually speak? They speak at the ballot box. We often think of election data as just cold numbers on a spreadsheet, but it's not. It's a language. It's a conversation that's been happening for decades between the people and those who want to lead them. And if we listen carefully to these numbers, we can hear exactly what the people of Longkhim Chare have been trying to tell us.
If you look at the political story here over the last 7 elections, you see a clear pattern. Change. One term, a national party alliance holds the seat. A few years later, a strong regional party like the Naga People's Front, the NPF, surges to victory. Then, just last year, in 2023, power swings right back to an alliance of the NDPP and BJP. So what does this tell you? It tells you this is not a vote bank. This is the signature of a thinking, calculating electorate. Loyalty isn't a given. It's earned, and it can be taken away. And this just shows you how close the competition is. The margin of victory is incredibly thin. We're talking about a swing of just a few percentage points, a shift of maybe 1,600 to 1,800 votes. That's all it takes to decide the winner. Now think about that. In an environment this tight, every single promise, every delayed project, every grievance that's ignored, it has a direct and very real consequence. Power here truly sits on a razor's edge. So if you put all this data together, what's the one message that comes through, loud and clear? It's this. Political mandates here are conditional. They are rented, not owned. The people are the landlords, and they can and absolutely will evict a tenant who isn't performing. This is accountability in its purest form. And in Longkhim Chare, it's not just a theory, it's a living reality. This incredible level of participation, it really speaks to a deep constitutional value. Our whole system, our whole republic, is built on the idea of individual dignity. And when people turn out to vote in these numbers, they're exercising their right to informed public speech. For them, the voting booth is their forum, and their collective choice is a responsible civic act that demands absolute respect from anyone who governs.
Okay, so we've seen what happened in these elections, but now we have to ask the much bigger question, why did it happen? And this isn't about blaming or praising any one person. It's about understanding the systems, the undercurrents, the deeper forces that come together to create a political result. So let's try to dissect the anatomy of this mandate.
It looks like there are 4 big forces that consistently shape the outcome here. First, tribal solidarity. Community identity is absolutely foundational. Second, you've got the urban-rural split. The needs of a town are just different from a remote village. Third, and this is a big one, the weight of unmet promises. This is the main fuel for what we call anti-incumbency. And finally, you have the emerging voices of educated youth and women who are demanding a more responsive kind of politics.
And you can see this so clearly when you compare the last 2 elections.
In 2018, the NPF wins. Why? Strong groundwork, a candidate who really connected with people. Fast forward to 2023, and the result completely flips. The reasons are a classic political story. People were tired of the incumbent, there was no exciting story for the future, and the party couldn't counter the misinformation that was spreading online. The game had changed.
Now, to really get a feel for these forces, we need to get away from the high-level view for a moment and walk on the ground. Because at the end of the day, all politics is local. The vote isn't decided by some grand ideology, it's shaped by the problems people face in their day-to-day lives.
And this right here, this is the people's real agenda. These aren't just abstract policy points. A poor road isn't an infrastructure deficit. It means a sick child might not get to a doctor in time. Unreliable power isn't a grid issue. It means a student can't study at night. Youth unemployment isn't a statistic. It's a story of a family broken up by migration. These are the things that really, truly matter.
So, with all this complexity, how can a political leader or a party possibly earn and keep the trust of these voters? Well, it's not going to happen with last-minute promises or photo ops. It takes a systematic, disciplined strategy. What we have here is a blueprint, a four-pillar approach to building genuine people-first governance.
We call this the Chaturmukhta, or the four-faced doctrine. Pillar 1, an electoral connection that is built from the ground up, obsessively focused on local issues. Pillar 2, organizational strength that comes from homegrown leadership, people who are respected in the community. Pillar 3, a narrative of honesty, one that actually sounds like the voice of the villagers. And Pillar 4, using modern resources to modernize the grassroots, using technology not to fool people, but to actually connect with them.
Now, any good strategy has to be based in reality. For an opposition party like the NPF, their strengths are clear, a long history in the state and a dedicated base. But the threats are also very real. They're up against a powerful ruling alliance with state resources, and they have to fight the constant battle against digital misinformation. The strategy has to use their own strength to overcome these external challenges.
And of course, any political idea, any movement needs a person to represent it. The kind of candidate that works here isn't some big, distant personality. They're looking for a villager's advocate, someone probably in their 40s or 50s with a clean reputation who comes from the community and has a real track record of public service. Someone who people see as honest, relatable, and committed to their welfare above all else. That's the profile that earns trust.
And speaking of trust, in today's world, that also means being responsible with information. Any effort to connect with voters must respect their dignity, and that includes their personal data. Under India's laws, getting consent is non-negotiable. But this isn't just about following rules, it's about building real trust, which is, and always will be, the most valuable currency in public life.
So, when you bring all of this together, the numbers, the patterns, the strategy, it all points to one simple, profound truth. Leadership is not about the one-time act of winning an election. It's about the continuous day-in, day-out responsibility that comes after. It's about actually honoring the trust of an entire community that shows up to do its part.
Which leaves us with a final question, something to really think about. In a place like this, where almost everybody votes, where the final result can be decided by just a handful of people, what does power truly mean? What is the real definition of a political mandate?
The answer from the people of Longkhim Chare is loud and clear, and it's a calm warning to anyone who holds public office anywhere. A mandate is a temporary trust. It's a fragile thing, and it can be taken away just as easily and just as decisively as it was given. The people are always watching.
If you want to become a people-centric leader and uplift your constituency, get in touch with blueprintstrategies.ai at mgr@blueprintstrategies.ai or call 080-4204-1602. Purpose Beyond Politics.